Associated Industries of Florida is opposed to the legislation as it sits today. You heard a lot about the private cause of action and about the compliance costs, and obviously those are reasons we oppose this bill. But fundamentally, we oppose this bill because it ought to be taken up at the federal level. And sure, we can have that discussion about you are protecting your constituents and working on their behalf, and that's the discussion that we're going to have. You can't control Congress. I wish you could, because you, I'm sure, do a better job than they are in Washington, D.C. these days. I trust you a lot more. But that is where this ought to be legislated. You see, these we just had a long discussion about where an and is, or whether this applies or not, and our businesses are working really hard to figure out how to comply with this piece of legislation, the one in California, the one in Virginia, and all of those, and it is complicated. It's a real difficult thing. The compliance costs are there. How do we contemplate those, and how do we measure those? That's a very difficult thing, but they are real. And so moving forward, we know that we need to focus our attention at the federal level. And just to remind you of the businesses that we're talking about here in the state of Florida, they're not some ethereal, anonymous group of people. These are the businesses that make Florida great. These are the businesses that employ thousands and thousands of Floridians, that have pay property taxes, have huge capital investments in this state. They care about this state. They want to do things the right way. And adding these compliance costs and adding these things when it ought to be done somewhere else is just another cost for them in a already difficult situation. I mean, we're dealing with supply chain issues. We're dealing with, just coming off of COVID-19 and all of the costs and all the difficulties they're focused there. Now's not the time to increase an additional tax when we ought to do this, where it can be a stable, can be looked at in a comprehensive way at the federal level. So we ask you to join us and work at the federal level to really get a solution to this problem and not create more controversy and more confusion at the state level. And that's our ask. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.